The Golden California dream seems to be fading into a rather dusty, expensive reality for the residents of Montecito as we navigate the opening weeks of 2026, a year many predicted would be the ultimate day of reckoning for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Hello, it is a pleasure to have you with me again as we pull back the curtain on what has become a truly extraordinary 6-week period of professional collapse and personal desperation for a couple who once thought they could outshine the very institution that gave them their names. We must begin with the smell of smoke coming from the Archewell offices because the exodus of talent has reached what can only be described as terminal velocity. When James Holt, the executive director who has been a fixture in their lives for 5 years, decides he has had quite enough of the Santa Barbara sunshine and packs his bags for London, you know the ship isn't just leaking, it is sinking. A well-meaning staff member has let it slip that this particular departure, alongside their chief publicist Meredith Maines after a mere 10 months, has sent the Duchess into what is being called a full-scale meltdown. A source within the inner circle suggests that the atmosphere behind those high gates is one of frantic finger-pointing, with Meghan reportedly placing the blame for their dwindling prestige squarely on Harry's shoulders. It appears the power couple narrative is fraying at the edges, replaced by the cold, hard realization that Hollywood's elite are no longer picking up the phone. The financial picture is equally grim, and the whispers regarding their liquidity are growing louder by the day. There is a particularly delicious bit of gossip doing the rounds involving none other than Tyler Perry, once their savior and the man who provided their first California bolt hole. A source behind closed doors claims that the relationship has curdled over a staggering $14 million loan that has allegedly gone unpaid. While their representatives are naturally issuing frantic denials, a longtime family acquaintance notes that Perry has been notably cooling his public support, recently remarking that Meghan, as a local, hardly needed his mentoring. When your most powerful billionaire ally starts choosing his words that carefully, the writing is on the wall. This comes just as the Netflix deal, that $100 million golden goose, looks set to meet its end this coming September. The ratings for the second season of Meghan's lifestyle project With Love, Meghan have reportedly cratered, ranking somewhere near the bottom of the streaming giant's library. One well-placed source tells me that Netflix executives have little appetite for a third season of watching the Duchess arrange organic flowers, especially when the viewing figures are being outpaced by obscure documentaries. Speaking of houses, the Netflix mansion, the sprawling estate where they filmed so much of their original grievances, has finally found a buyer after languishing on the market for 4 long years. It sold for significantly less than the original $30 million asking price, a fitting metaphor, perhaps, for the Sussex brand itself. A source within the inner circle suggests that the couple is feeling the pinch of their lifestyle, from the astronomical security costs to the upkeep of a home that now feels more like a gilded cage than a sanctuary. Harry, meanwhile, seems to be increasingly preoccupied with a desperate desire to reconnect with the father he spent years criticizing. With King Charles scheduled to visit the United States this April for a meeting with the president, the Duke is reportedly begging for a visit to Montecito. A well-placed source indicates that Harry is frantic for the king to spend time with Archie and Lilibet, perhaps realizing that his children are growing up as strangers to their own heritage. However, the king's schedule is notoriously tight, and one gets the feeling that a detour to Santa Barbara to sit through a lecture on wellness is not high on His Majesty's priority list. This desperation is compounded by Harry's ongoing and largely unsuccessful legal battles in London. A source close to palace circles notes that Harry remains incredulous that he hasn't been granted the same automatic, taxpayer-funded security as the Princess of Wales, seemingly forgetting that Catherine is a working royal who serves the public, rather than a private citizen living in a California mansion. The social scene isn't offering much of a reprieve either. Their recent appearance at the NBA All-Star Game in Los Angeles was a masterclass in trying too hard. While Meghan opted for a refreshingly casual look, a source behind closed doors tells me the mood in the VIP boxes was decidedly frosty. There are reports that Hollywood is effectively done with the drama. A well-meaning staff member mentioned that even the Kardashians have found themselves caught in the Sussex crossfire, with Kim reportedly very angry after the couple's recent presence at a family birthday bash somehow turned into another media circus. It seems that wherever they go, a cloud of controversy follows. And in a town that thrives on image, being toxic is the one thing you cannot afford to be. Interestingly, the Duke and Duchess are reportedly feeling a sense of grim vindication over the renewed scrutiny surrounding Prince Andrew. A source within the inner circle claims that Meghan believes the recent Epstein leaks prove they were used as scapegoats to distract from more serious royal scandals. It is a classic Sussex maneuver, pivoting to someone else's misfortune to justify their own choices. But as someone close to palace circles observed, the public's ability to be annoyed by Prince Andrew does not somehow increase their affection for the couple in Montecito. If anything, it only highlights the contrast between those who stay and face the music and those who flee to a podcast studio. Perhaps the most shocking rumor of all is that Harry may be looking for a way out of his American exile entirely. A source behind closed doors has whispered that the Duke has quietly filed paperwork regarding his U.S. residency status, leading to speculation that he is preparing the ground for a return to the United Kingdom, possibly alone. A well-placed source suggests that Princess Catherine, ever the peacemaker, has been trying to build a bridge for Harry, urging him to visit London without Meghan as a show of good faith to Prince William. However, the Prince of Wales is said to be unmovable, his mistrust running so deep that any royal comeback for Harry feels like a distant fantasy. As we look at the wreckage of the last 6 weeks, from the canceled shows and the fleeing staff to the unpaid loans and the social isolation, one has to wonder how much longer this can continue. The Sussexes have spent their capital, both financial and emotional, and the returns are diminishing by the hour. They are finding out the hard way that when you leave the firm, the world doesn't just bow at your feet, it moves on. Would you like me to look further into the specific details of the King's upcoming April visit and whether any peace talks are actually being brokered behind the scenes?